All right, friends, the only way we can wash the taste of the worst of the week out of our mouths is with the best of the bunch. Best of the bunch this week has got to go to Blade Runner 2049. Now, this was a movie that even going into it, I was conflicted about. Partially because I have a conflicted relationship with the original Blade Runner. There is no denying that Blade Runner, the Ridley Scott classic that stars Harrison Ford as a policeman who chases down rogue robots, is a classic of the genre and one of the most influential movies of the last, 30 years, at least from the point of view of production design. Everything today still wants to look like Blade Runner, and Blade Runner still looks great. So when they announced this long-haul sequel to Blade Runner, which, let's be honest, has a really dopey title, I was pretty skeptical. You know, that first Blade Runner, like I say, it's extremely influential, but it's a movie that, as time goes on, I've been souring on a little bit. It's a little bit boring. The characters, particularly Harrison Ford, I'm not sure are all that engaging. The replicants, which is what they call the robots, are all terrific and great, and that production design is great. But it's also a movie that's more than a little pretentious, and is a movie that sometimes feels like homework. So Blade Runner 2049, now the big way to get me interested in this movie was with its director. For whatever reason, Ridley didn't want to come back for this one, even though he's been slumming it doing Alien sequels the last couple of years. But for this one, they got Denis Villeneuve. I don't know how to say it. I should learn because I am apparently a professional film critic. But in any event, Denis Villeneuve comes in to direct this thing, and I have been loving his movies. I was maybe not that into Sicario. I need to rewatch it because I feel like I should like it more than I did. But I loved Prisoners. I really loved Arrival. So I'm gonna, and I mean, those aren't just like, oh, that was a good movie. Those are some great movies. Those are some real out of the park ones. So whatever his new movie is gonna be, I wanna see it. And in this case, it's Blade Runner. This movie is gorgeous. It is, I mean, there's no escaping that it's influenced by the original, obviously. And I don't know if I can say that it really does anything new or challenging with that aesthetic. But it still looks great. It's also pretty interesting. This one revolves around, so the first movie plays with this idea of maybe Harrison Ford's character is a robot. Maybe he's a robot that thinks he's a human hunting robots. This movie is very upfront. Our new hero, our new policeman, Ryan Gosling, is a robot hunting robots. And he seems to be having a sort of emotional awakening over the course of the movie as he stumbles onto a plot about figuring out, is he, about finding Harrison Ford. Where, who is he and what happened to him? Because it looks as though Harrison Ford and his robot girlfriend might have had a baby. And if robots can be having babies, that's a big sea change in the world. Incidentally, it looks for much of the movie, and spoiler alerts abound, that Ryan Gosling might be that baby. Now, the most interesting thing this movie does, and maybe my favorite part of it, is they make the decision that Ryan Gosling is not that baby. Just that Ryan Gosling shares some of the memories in his core programming of that baby for reasons that will make sense if you watch the movie. But the point is, he ain't the baby. He is not special, which is a narrative turn I really enjoy, because the whole idea that he is the baby finding his dad is a little trite and cliche. So I was very happy they didn't go that way. It's an interesting movie. It's an exciting movie. There's some good performance in it. And like I say, it is absolutely gorgeous to look at. Now, my main criticism of the movie is, much like the original Blade Runner, is that it does not treat its female characters very well. In particular, Ryan Gosling's girlfriend, who I believe is named Joy, who is a hologram, which is a pretty interesting idea, that you have this hologram dating this robot, and she has no substance because she's a hologram, but she would like it, and she's maybe more emotionally evolved than he is. It's an interesting dynamic, but it mostly gets played as that she is a thing, and then that she doesn't get treated very well. And there's not really an alternative to be had. There is a lady robot assassin, but she's never really fleshed out. Robin Wright plays Ryan Gosling's police officer superior, but her character never really gets panned out. It is a movie wherein women are largely treated as things for the service of the male characters, and I don't care for that. Still, it was a movie that I enjoyed, certainly much more than I thought I would. I wish that it had a more evolved sensibility in that regard. I wish that it had embraced modern times maybe a little bit more, but it did still manage to tell a really good-looking and somewhat interesting story. I'm going to give it a pretty high rating today that I feel like might come down in subsequent viewings, but for right now, for today, I have to give Blade Runner 2049 4 stars.